Very good, friends. Hi, Doc South here, and woo, well, we've had a bit of a heat wave going on here in the Northeast. Uh, Rather hot out, I guess, humid, and well, us Yankees don't don't necessarily cotton that well to hot weather. No, and yeah, people are kind of everyone's staying inside and it's too hot to even go to the beach and like that. I mean, you go to the beach, but you get sunburned so fast, and then the drive down, you get caught in a traffic jam trying to get to the beach. Next thing you know, you're yeah, it's just not good. Okay, well, I was trying to think of some of the times when I've been just so hot I didn't know what I was going to do. And most of those times happened when I lived in the South, when I was down in the Carolinas. The flatlands of the Carolinas in the summer, it's just like living on a griddle. I just don't know how else to tell you, friends. It was pretty much nothing to see 105 degrees, and it would go like that. Uh, for it just wouldn't go away. Just wouldn't. We used to watch. I know I've said this before, but you'd watch the weather report, and they'd have some. The Yankees would be sending down the Northerners would be sending down some cold weather. Yeah, you'd see the what would it be, a cold front. Yeah, it'd be usually it's a blue line with arrows, and it's coming our way. It's heading for Richmond, and yeah, and you're and you'd look, and we'd watch that on the evening news, and the weatherman would be saying, "Well, if it don't break up, it's going to be here by about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon." And we'd be saying, "Oh, good, finally, it's not going to be 108 out," and and that front would be coming, to be getting closer. Yeah, it's just about the Virginia North Carolina line, and then all of a sudden you'd see, instead of the solid line, it'd be like dashed lines, like in Morse code. Yeah, and it would just fall apart. The heat would just rip it up, and there you go. And you'd see there'd be another one coming. It was up in Chicago. Yeah, trying to make it down, but they never got here. They never got here. I don't know. They got flat tires on the way. I don't. Go figure. And it would just stay hot. Oh, I know one time I worked in boilers, or around boilers, and I was at a fabric mill, and they need a lot of steam to process the various yarns and such, and I don't even know if those plants are still down there nowadays. I don't know if that work's all been sent offshore. I don't know, but when I was down there, it was still a pretty big thing, and again, most fabric mills had humongous boilers, pretty much the size of a house. And they wouldn't have just one, they'd have two or three going. So the boiler room, yeah, not too great. Not too great to be in there. I think you could almost go walk around there naked, except what would happen, I don't think anyone would mind. It's just sooner or later you'd bump up against a steam pipe, and that just wouldn't work. Yeah, it just gets too hot. Yeah. And I know one guy says, he's looking at me. I'm kind of running my tests on the boiler. He says, "Son, you look a bit peaked. Why don't you go get an ice pop?" They got them in the break room. I said, "Yeah, ice pop? Yeah, I would like in vending machine." He said, "Yeah, they're only about a quarter." I said, "Well, yeah, you think you got a good idea there. That would feel good." He said, "Now, don't go rubbing it all over yourself. Just eat it." I said, "Yeah, I understand. I understand." And I got that ice pop. I get into the boiler room, I rip the paper off, and right in front of my eyes, that ice pop went like this. Just disappeared. All that was left was a stick. It melted all over my hands. It was that hot. I said, "Oh, man. Oh, Lord have mercy." And and like that. But I think maybe the hottest, and the Southerners pretty much took all this in stride, except one guy we ran into once when I was doing rescue. Saturday nights, we often went to the stock car races. We'd bring an ambulance out, sometimes two ambulances, and we'd have a spot in the middle of the infield, in the center of the oval, right? where we could watch the race. We could get out real easy. We just had, if someone had a crack up, we just head out on the same road, the same pathway the drivers would use to get out into formation for their for the race. And so we go. We see this guy. We're in the middle, and they got this race going, and it's been hot. It's been hot for like 4 weeks. And when I say hot, I mean cooling down to maybe 95 at night, and going up to 100, 105, 110 or so in the heat of the afternoon. This was now probably about 7, 8 o'clock at night. Somewhat the heat of the day went down. It was probably now only about 102 out. And they're having a race. It's one of the qualifying races for the big one later in the evening. And we're watching these drivers. They're going around, like these wonderful cars. And it's great fun. You come back all dusty and sweaty and stuff. It's cool. And so we see this fella come. He was pretty much by himself. And maybe one or two other cars, nothing serious going on. They weren't hitting each other or anything like that, and like they sometimes would. And this guy goes careening right into the wall. I mean, right into on the first turn, he just hits the wall. The car it just is a mess. And we, of course, we're on our way, with the lights going. They stop the race. We're out there, and we get the guy out of the car. He's unconscious. I'm thinking, man, it was a bad wreck, but these guys usually aren't unconscious. And we get him into the ambulance. They had me in the back, and I'm trying to find his injuries. I don't see anything, but he's out cold. And I undo his fire suit, his fire retardant suit, and I'm looking, and I said, man, what the heck is going on here? Something's just not right. And when I open up the suit, it's like all water. It's like, it's just, he was drenched, and it was all sweat. I said, you know what? I think this fellow's dehydrated himself. Let's get to the hospital real quick. This is before we could do IVs or anything, or we would have probably started a saline on him. And we get him I get him out of his suit. Tried not to cut it or anything. Those suits were pretty expensive. And he did have a pulse and everything, but he just seemed like he was just too darn hot. His pulse was just racing, very high, and he was all reddish looking. Get him in there, and the doctor looks him over and says, I think this fellow's got, if he's got heat, he's got the heat sickness, got heat prostration there. He's out cold from being too hot. And so they started an IV. It was a little hard to get the IV in with his veins were kind of collapsed a bit. But they got it in. It wasn't too long. He starts, where am I? What? What? The race? What? And we said, you're in the hospital right now, son. He says, what I do? We said, you cracked the wall. Yeah, he said, I did? He said, I don't remember a darn thing. He says, you got to get me back to the races. I said, I don't think you're going tonight. He said, we got your car. It's safe. They put it in the infield. You just have to get it later. And turns out, the heat had gotten him. I think he's the only Southerner I ever met. And we've come to find out that earlier that day he was a farmer. And he had been working in his fields all day long, tending to the tobacco crop. He was putting out. And he'd just been under the sun the whole day. Didn't think to drink a lot of fluids. And then he goes into the race, and it's hot in those suits and hot in those cars, and it was just more than he could take. And I remember, I think, visiting him a few hours later after the race was over. We went over to the ER to see him, and he said, "I'm kind of ashamed of myself. Here I am, a Tar Heel, and I conked out from the heat." Well, we said, "My God, it was probably 108 or so today, and then you're in that car. What's those cars run?" He's about 125 in a car when it's running. I said, well, maybe you just did too much. Why don't you just call it exhaustion? Don't call it heat exhaustion. That way you can hold your head up high. He says, well, yeah, he says, maybe I could do that. Was kind of tired. He got up early. Okay, he says, that's what I'll do. So anyway, he felt better. He was in the next race the following week. Yeah, he was in race. He was there the next week. And I think he did okay for himself. Didn't hit the wall this time. I think we saw him in the pits and said, hey, you drinking any lemonade or anything? Yes, sir. He said, I am. I said, well, then maybe you'll be all right. He said, well, I sure hope so. I want to win one of these. And I think in due time he did okay. Got himself a trophy. Okay, anyway, enough said, friends. We'll see you later. Stay cool. God bless.